Aloha everyone, welcome. As promised, today's class is going to help you connect with your core in a new way. And so this definition of the core that I'm using is a team of muscles that supports you from the inside out. And what that means is all your superficial muscles can actually relax. You can feel really strong without any strain. So to get started, I want you to meet this team of muscles. Can you zoom out? If you want to, I'm going to sit on a block here or a cushion, like a little stool, and then put your feet in front of you. So anything that would help you sit comfortably in this kind of cute little squat position. So take a moment to find your toadstool. Okay, and so let's trace this muscle team. We're going to skip some areas because the pelvic floor is part of it. So we'll just sort of visualize and let our awareness drop into that place. But we can start with our hands on the soles of our feet, right at the arches. The arches support us all day long when we're standing. They're a huge part of taking a bouncy step. And so it makes sense that they're the foundation of the core. You can lift and lower the heels a couple of times and just feel that lightness that happens at the very center of the foot when you do that. And then start to trace the hands up. The deep core runs just behind the shin bone. So it's deeper than your calf muscles that you can squeeze. But if you place your fingers between your calf muscles, as you lift your heels, you might feel like just a little brightening that happens in this muscle that's just behind the shin bone, the soleus. And it's okay if you can't feel it. A huge part of what we're doing right now is just letting our awareness shine on the arches of the foot, the deep calf. And then the next stop along the way is the inner thighs, so the big, meaty adductor muscles. And these help float your pelvis. And then at the base of the pelvis, and so I'll move my legs out of the way, you can just visualize the base of your pelvis, that gentle lift that naturally happens as you lengthen up through the spine. And then the core actually travels in the front and back of the abdominal cavity all the way up to the diaphragm. So our breath is related to our core. And then from the diaphragm, this team of muscles travels between the esophagus and the trachea all the way up to your tongue. So take a moment to press the tongue into the roof of the mouth. Notice if that helps the spine lengthen. And then relax completely, right? Because a huge part of working with this team of muscles is not building tension, letting it support you in with a light touch. So let's explore that for a couple of breaths, just finding a long spine, and then ever so gently lifting the heels just an inch, like you have a little tiny wedge under your heel. And at the same time, exhale and press the tongue into the roof of the mouth. And just visualize the soles of the feet connecting all the way up to the crown of the head. A little space traveling through that whole line. And then relax and soften so much that you deflate a little bit with no tension, but just relaxing towards the thighs. Inhale, let the back of the body expand. And then as you exhale, lift the heels, press the tongue into the roof of the mouth. We're starting with the exhale just so there's a sense of tone in the line as it lengthens. And then inhale to soften, expand through the back body. We'll do one more like that. You can move at your own pace, getting really curious We are going to still start with some breathing, but I wanted you to get to feel the line before we came to stillness. So that's why the format's a little different today. And so now let's reverse the breath, and something that's probably going to feel a little more natural. Aloha, Dana and Andy. Great to see you. We're working on the deep front line, so you can just jump right into that. I know Dana knows what I'm talking about. And so now we'll play with exhaling to deflate. Imagine you're a raft, and there's like a little pinhole in the raft, and so you're just softening forward as a little bit of air escapes. And you're a magical raft, so now you're magically repaired. And as you inhale, you can let your whole raft body fill evenly, floating you back up to that nice light seated position. And take a couple more on your own. A little deflate with the exhale. It doesn't have to be dramatic. And then an even inflate, and try to feel the arch of the foot all the way to the tongue or even the crown of the head. Take a couple more on your own. And then cross the legs in front of you in Sukhasana. And if there's a more comfortable way for you to sit, please make yourself comfortable. Give you a moment here. And then, even though we're unmoving, see if you can trace. In fact, instead of tracing the whole line, just feel that almost gentle hug towards center, like the inner thighs actually connect towards one another. They're hugging towards the center line of the body. Without moving the legs, gently drag them towards one another, and notice if you can get just a little extra space through the spine. And then exhale, soften and release completely. We'll do this a couple of times in Sukhasana. So the inhale, I'll go to the side so you can see how minimally my spine is moving. The inhale is that gentle squeeze towards center. Everything becomes a little more spacious. The curves of the spine don't change. And then exhale, ever so subtly and softly deflate. And this deflating is even through the whole body, so you don't feel it in one place. And then inhale, everything ever so gently hugs towards the midline, and you come back up to an effortless neutral. And then let's pause here in our effortless neutral and see if you can maintain the breath without the slouching, or maybe it's almost just like an energetic release. And then that energetic inflation, but the body is unmoving. Close the eyes if that feels safe, or you can find a single gaze point. And let yourself start to sink into stillness, but notice if you have a little more awareness through that center of the body, a little tingling through the muscles that we've been engaging, or a brightness, or even just a curiosity, like a light has been turned on in a room that you want to explore. Play with pressing the tongue up into the roof of the mouth and ever so gently swallowing to create a suction. Bring a little extra emphasis to your exhalation. And as long as it feels safe and not claustrophobic, play with extending the length of the exhale. Let the inhale be free and natural. And then extend the exhale, slowing it down, smoothing it out. A huge part of having enough oxygen in your system is having a full and complete exhalation. Depending on your day, this might feel really easy, really hard. Be compassionate. Make sure you're comfortable. But have that compass point towards letting yourself release more. Letting go of that grip. And we'll take a couple more breaths. And then let's return to that visual that you're a really cool U-shaped raft, Y-O-U, and we'll play with deflating and inflating through this raft. If you're following along with the musical playlist, you can hit play on the first track. And imagine a little pinhole in the front of the raft that's allowing a little bit of air to escape, so the whole front of the raft starts to deflate. There should never be any pain in your joints as you do this. I'll turn to the side so you can see. Let yourself just soften and sink, almost melting forward. And the reason I love the raft metaphor so much is because you move evenly through the whole body and don't feel it in just one place. It's like the whole body works together. And then with the inhale, you're able to fill again, expanding evenly to come back to upright. And try to feel that sense of expansion happening, not just in the front of the body, but the back of the body, the sides of the body, helping to support you. Take a couple more forward. And if you want to sync this with your breath, the exhale can take you forward, the inhale can take you back up, or however you'd like to explore it. You can also take several breaths to release forward and several breaths to come back up. And then let's get a little asymmetrical with it. Imagine the pinhole now on the right side of the body, and let the right side of the body start to deflate, but of course that affects the left side. Be mindful of the head and neck. Make sure there's no pressure. Again, you really don't want to feel this in just one place. Come back up. Can either go to the other side right away or do a few on that same side. And to make it a little dramatic, let the arms be heavy. So you feel that little extra, ooh, nice, Mandy. I felt you really embodied that in that moment. There's that little extra downward pull. And then even out sides, and if you don't remember, it doesn't matter. You're perfect all the time. But we'll meet at center. And then float the hands a couple of inches. And we'll do the same thing, but hands free. And it's going to take a little more deep core support. So inhale, gently squeeze the foot into the shin and the other foot into whatever it's touching. And see if you can get just a little more expansive. And then as you exhale, start to release forward, feeling that deep front line supporting you. So the superficial muscles stay really soft. And then inhale back up. If you want, you can allow the arms to float up any amount that feels interesting and spacious. And then exhale. Now it's yogi's choice. I don't know where the pinhole is. So wherever it is, you can start to slouch over to that side or forward or even back. And then inhale, let the whole body brighten and expand, keeping your focal point at the center line of the body, from the arches of the feet up the inner thighs, pelvic floor, all the way along the front of the spine, up to the tongue, and more poetically up to the crown of the head. When the tongue is pressing to the roof of the mouth, it's all connected. And the key takeaway with this exercise is feeling a sense of wholeness. There's not just one muscle taking you into the movement, but really your whole raft body working together. And we'll just take one more minute. That's about 6 breaths if you're breathing nice and slow. And we'll meet at center. You can pause for one moment. No need to rush. Beautiful, smooth moving, everyone. Great job. Can release the hands down at center unless they just feel that weightless. That's fine. Move any props off to the side and come to kneeling. If you've got sensitive knees, I invite you to grab a blanket or whatever is cushy and nearby. Try to keep that energy of the whole body moving in unison as we start to move a little bit more. You can face me, but I'm going to turn to the side just so it's easier to follow. Keep the feet flat. It's fine if they're dangling off of your blanket. And bring one hand to the low back and one hand just below the belly button. And it's pretty common that we have a little tilt in our pelvis here. Most people's pelvises tilt forward a little bit, but we're all unique. Start to play with dragging the back hand down and letting the front hand lift, and then reversing that. And take your time, but start to notice a place where it feels like the low back gets really spacious. If you overdo it, it actually compresses the front of the lumbar vertebra. So you almost want to feel like nothing in the low back, like you've got little clouds as your vertebra. And when you find a place that feels stable, it actually should take a little bit of deep core engagement to maintain it. So if you feel like, yeah, I'm here and it's effortless, see if you can feel that little brightness up the deep front line, and then maintain it. Place your hands to the front of the hips, and without creasing the hips at all, bend the knees, rocking back. Inhale, float up. Sync this with an exhale to rock back. And take a few on your own, trying to feel that deep, buoyant core that we've been tracing support you from the inside. See if you can keep the superficial muscles relaxed, and that might mean not going as far as you want. Mandy, you're going really far, which maybe you probably can do that in a healthy way, but just make sure you feel like a sense of ease and relaxation. A good way to test it is when you go into that lean back to actually hold it and be like, oh, could I sustain this and feel joyful and relaxed? And then go back up. And then bring the hips to the heels. Give yourself a little break. Relax the arms down, and circle the arms in front of you, letting the body hollow out. Imagining you're like a jellyfish or an octopus, and your tentacles are reaching forward to propel the body the other direction. And then push down into the knees to slowly rise up and allow the arms to reach up. And we'll go right into those rock backs. Yeah, if it's okay, you can keep the arms overhead. If you needed that feedback, you can bring the hands back to the hips. And then we'll repeat. So lower hips to heels, drop the hands, circle the arms forward, and then use an exhale to reach the arms forward and hollow the body so the front edge of the body suctions to meet the back edge. You should feel the back body expand, kind of like a parachute, and then push down into the knees, slowly rolling up on the inhale, getting really light, using your next exhale for the rock back. And then lower the hips to heels, and do this at your own pace. If you get confused with the breaths, it really doesn't matter as long as it feels good. I like the exhale as I reach forward, so I get a little more dramatic with the hollowing of the body. And as you play with these two shapes, see if you can tune in to the center line of the body. That moment where there's a hollowness, and then you take that and you roll up and you feel really expansive and light, supported from the inside out. And the next time you roll up, bring your, I am mirrored. Bring your right hand to, no, your left hand to your left hip and circle the right arm forward, up, and back. You can let the body rotate a little bit with you, and then we'll reverse that action. So circle the arm back, up, and forward. Bring a little extra awareness to the shoulder blade here. And something kind of fun to feel the shoulder blade is to actually bring your hand to your rib cage. And so as you circle, you have a sense of what the rib cage is doing and what the scapula is doing. And you're not trying to isolate anything. It's fine for the body to rotate. Just try to have that awareness of where the movement is coming from. Some of it's in the scapula, some of it is in the rotation of the rib cage, and then hopefully the support of all of it is from that deeper layer of the core. So there's no gripping and there's just lightness here. And then before we do the other side, bring the hips back down. Take one more of those jellyfish curls and then roll up. Take a rock back. And then from kneeling, right hand comes to the low back and you can start to circle the left arm up and back. And then tick-tock it back the way it came. So instead of a full circle, it's an arc up and then an arc back. And then you can add on wrapping the right fingertips around the rib cage just so that you can feel a sense of connection between the arm and the body, maybe even the arm and the deep core. The next time the arm is circling up and back, push down a little extra into the right knee and just notice what happens with the rest of the body. Maybe you can feel those connections in a more tangible way. And then bring the arm back. Move any props off to the side. If you're following along with the playlist, you can go to the next track. You can have a sip of water. Okay. Turn to your left and let's meet in table. Paw out the hands, shifting the weight from hand to hand. Let the elbows be soft, and sometimes for the elbows to be soft, the hands have to walk back a little bit more than you're used to, so just explore that. Bring a little extra weight to the pinky side of the hands. And then come to center, so you're pressing evenly into both hands. Just like we did from kneeling, except, sorry, you can't put a hand on your sacrum and a hand on your belly here. Explore rocking the pelvis forward and back, trying to find a sense of neutral. And remember, neutral is where the low back still has its natural curve, but there's a sense of spaciousness on the front of the lumbar vertebra and the back of the lumbar vertebra. And when you're doing it, it should feel like the neck can reach forward like a turtle head coming out of its shell. When you found that place, test it a little bit by hinging the hips and taking a few just pure hip hinges. And when the hips are purely hinging, you'll feel the glutes catch the hips almost like a slingshot. And you shouldn't feel a lot happening in the low back besides the deep core supporting you. Nice, Mel. You got it. And then come back to tabletop. Satyam just yawned, so that's how I know his nervous system is down regulating. If you're yawning, that's good. Be patient. It's good for you, especially if you're a fiery individual. It's okay to feel bored. So from tabletop, exhale and start to glide the right foot back, and then inhale, bring it back in. Do this a couple of times, trying not to move anything else in the body. The more still the rest of the body is, the more your deep core is supporting you from the inside out. See if you can feel that sense of support rising up the inner thighs through the front of the spine, really, really deep though, behind the organs. Play with exhaling, pressing the tongue into the roof of the mouth. As the foot glides back, can the head reach forward? Pause there and slide the left fingertips forward and back a couple of times. The next time the hand glides forward, push into the left hand, push into the right hand, reach the left hand forward, up and back. And then we'll take a few spirals like this and imagine on the inhale the whole body inflating to twist you to the left, and then the exhale letting your body soften and melt as the arm circles down. The next time the arm circles down, push into the left hand now. Slowly shift the weight into left knee and left hand, and let the whole right side of the body open up. Reach the right hand to the right thigh. And bring your awareness to the inner thighs. Glide the right leg in just an inch and see if you can feel the inner thighs draw together, and use that strength to activate the deep front line, exhaling to press the tongue into the roof of the mouth. If the deep front line is on here, you might feel like you can effortlessly hover the right leg. It's okay if you can't, but just explore that. Set it down at any time and take a couple of moments just to notice if the right leg feels lighter than usual, with no judgment, just curiosity. And then set the right toes down, set the right hand down, tuck the left toes under. The legs are asymmetrical here, but we'll still push the hips up and back into a staggered down dog. Wag the tail from side to side. Inhale to fill the raft, letting the whole body expand in this shape. And then exhale, find a little bit of softness. Set the left knee down, bring the right knee to meet it. Before we do the other side, let's slowly send the hips back to the heels. Hover the hands. We'll take one jellyfish pulse. And then roll up into a rock back. Circle the right arm up and back. And then tick-tock it back the way it came. And lower the hands down, preparing for the second side. So gently start to glide the left toes forward and back. Bring your awareness to the center line of the body and see if you can feel that connectivity up through the arch of the left foot, all the way inner thighs, pelvic floor, deep core up to the tongue. As the leg reaches back, play with pressing the tongue into the roof of the mouth and notice what the head does and how that affects the weight of the leg. The next time it's back, pause there, and then play with gliding the right fingertips forward and back. It's a little bit subtler, but you might notice as the weight shifts how the core has to support you. And the next time the right fingertips are forward, shift the weight into the left pinky side of the left hand and circle the right arm up and back. Exhale as the arm comes down, let everything soften, and then inhale to reach out and expand, filling the body completely as you spiral. The next time the right hand comes down, shift the weight to the right. It's okay to allow the right foot to slide out a little bit, kind of like a kickstand. Push down into the right hand to float the left arm up. Pause for a moment on the side. drag the left foot in just a little bit, and notice if that helps you stimulate the deep front line so you get a little length through the center of the body. And then keeping that on line, notice if the left leg feels light enough to float. It might not. It's okay if it doesn't. Option to have the arm resting on the body. And we're really not trying to lift the leg with the outer hip, but rather by having so much support that it becomes weightless. So you actually feel more work happening at the inner thigh. And then slowly release right hand down, left foot down, tuck right toes under, push into the hands to lift the hips up and back into your asymmetrical down dog. Sway the hips from side to side. And then set the right knee down, bring the left knee to meet it, press the hips back to the heels, take one pause in Bhaktasana. And then visualize yourself as a very happy octopus. And start to push your tentacles, that's your knees and hands, down into the mat as your hollow body hovers and your tentacles push together to propel you through space. Slowly rise up, reaching the arms up. Take one rock back. And then circle the left arm back and down. And then back and up, coming to center. Release the hands down. Paw the hands forward, one handprint. Tuck the toes under. And exhale to hover the knees just an inch. And then inhale, set them down. We'll do this a few times and start to notice the spine, just like we did in the hip hinges before. See if you can feel that neutral spine. So it still has curves, but there's a sense of space in the front and the back of the spine. The next time, the knees hover, push into the hands, bend the knees even more deeply as you imagine bringing sits bones towards the heels like a little leapfrog. And then Raft starts to fill through the back of the legs evenly. Doesn't matter if they straighten, but you want to feel a sense of evenness. If you're feeling it just at your hamstrings, then you're not doing the Raft thing. So exhale, try to release and soften everywhere. Coming out of it just a little bit, deflating. And then inhale, push into the balls of the feet and the hands, letting the whole Raft fill evenly. Take a couple more of these on your own, or you can just hold and breathe and let the breath do the work. Start to sway your hips from side to side, and as you do that, notice how one hand gets lighter. So as the hips sway far to the right, you can lift the left hand a little bit and then try the same thing on the other side. And then start to walk the lifted hand closer to the feet. So you're slowly making your way towards a forward fold. Bend the knees as deeply as you need to so there's no tension as you do this, especially in the low back. And then if the hands are close enough to the feet, bring your hands to the tops of your feet and just say hello to your feet. Give them some squeezes. Notice any sense of that arch lifting, and it's not a dramatic thing. It's just like a little curve in the medial edge of the foot. And then start to trace the hands up the calves, up the hamstrings, squeezing as you go. Bring your hands to the quads and start to push down to help lift the upper body. And then push down into the feet to slowly rise all the way up. And when you get to the top, close the eyes. And notice if you can clearly visualize the arches of the feet and feel a sense of connection through the feet up to the pelvic bowl, up to the rib cage, up to the tongue. And then turn to face me. And start to shift the weight from foot to foot. Let the opposite foot lift. And again, try to feel the sense that the lifting is happening from this musculature, right? It's not the outer hip doing the work. It's the whole body working together and feeling really light and supported. And then you can get a little weird with it. Bend the knees, bend the elbows. As I was preparing for this class, I felt like a marine animal pretty much like 95% of the time. So if that helps you, yeah, Mel, go for it. Nice, Anju. I think that inspired some creative fluidity here. And as you explore this side to side, start to remember that sense of the octopus hollowing out, and send your limbs forward just a little bit, and notice how it feels to have the front edge of the body lift and hollow the back of the body. And it's not really a forward fold, it's more of a sense of support. And then slowly glue both feet down, but keep the movement. And so just notice how that changes what you're able to do. Nice, Nanda Devi. And then come to center, equal weight in both feet, straighten the legs, release the arms. Turn all 10 toes forward. Anchor the big toe, and start to roll the weight into the outer edge of the right foot. It's okay, in fact, it's good to let the big toe lift away so that you're stretching the outer ankle. If you've never done this before, you might be like, no, this isn't safe. I promise it's totally safe and it's really good for you. So as long as there's no pain, breathe into this and start to circle the hips. And this is going to open up the lateral edge of the right leg and foot. And that can actually help us get more lift through the deep front line. So as the side body's open, we can lift more and more through the center of our body. Circle the hips the other way. And then to give yourself a little more room to explore this, cross the left leg in front. You might notice that you can even start to get the top of the right foot down a little bit more. So play with that. I don't know if you need to zoom in with the camera so you can see what my foot's doing. So that's what's happening. It might look more like this, but the sole of the foot is actually lifting so that you're getting that stretch. Again, as long as there's no pain, it can be less. Do what you feel comfortable with. And then start to open up through the right side of the body. Without overdoing it, you've felt the energy of the class is pretty mellow. Use that same energy to gently bring the thighs together, right? So if the adductors are coming together, you can naturally stimulate the rest of the deep front line. So notice as you do that, if you can get some more length through the spine to curve up and over to the left. Press the tongue into the roof of the mouth. Check in with the left knee. Make sure it feels supported. Inhale, let the right side of the body expand, and as you exhale, start to soften and release, rotating forward so the heart's pointing down towards the right foot. With your inhale, push into the left foot, gently squeeze the thighs together. Squeeze is too intense of a word. Gently imagine like that magnetic force, just gently hugging. And then exhale to release and soften. Take a few of these, exploring the right side of the body from the right foot all the way up to the armpit and even the neck. And then let the right foot plant once again and step the left foot back to where it came from, and pause and notice what the right foot feels like. Notice any change in how it's contacting the earth, and see if you can feel the ability to lift a little bit more through the right arch, the right inner thigh, the pelvic floor, that dichotomy of the body suctioning down through the outer edge and lifting through the inner edge. And then we'll balance it out on the second side. So start by rolling the pinky side of the left foot under. And so the sole of the left foot is facing the right, and then start to draw your circles with the hips. If this is really hard and really scary, only do as much as you feel comfortable with, but make a note, because it means this is probably a blind spot for you. Often people that roll their ankles a lot or have a lot of instability have trouble with this, and starting to open up this area can help you. Circle the hips the other way. And then step the right foot in front, bend the right knee, make sure the knee feels supported, so check in with the angle of the foot and make sure there's no pressure in the knee. And then if you want to, you can bring more of the pinky side of the foot under, and then reach the left arm high this time. Try to feel a sense of unity through the whole left side. And so play with that energy we had in the octopus movement of everything scooping out a little bit, and see if that can help you lift from the inside so the left side body stays really soft. And then as you exhale, melt the arm down, pointing heart towards left foot, and then inhale, expand evenly through the whole body, rotating open. Take a few on your own. And then slowly place the sole of the left foot back down. Push into the left foot to spring the right foot over to the side. And let's pause in star pose. Let the shoulders be really soft so there's no tension here. But again, notice the sense of the outer edge of the body, pinky side of the foot suctioning down, and almost like a wine opener, start to push the arms down and envision the whole inside of the body floating and becoming weightless and light as the arms push down. And we'll try that again in goddess pose. So turn the feet out, start to bend the knees, and just make sure the angle of the thighs is the same as the angle of the feet. So if the knees are coming in, point the toes in more. And then arms to T, and let's play with that. We'll call it sparkling apple juice opener. Push the arms down and let the hips float. Let the whole center of the body become weightless. Take a couple of pulses in here. Sync this movement with your breath, but do whatever feels natural. It might be an inhale or an exhale, and both are correct. They just have different uses. So do whatever you're naturally doing and do it consciously. And the most important thing here is to feel that sense of lift through the whole inside of the body. And the next time you rise up, you can pause there, release the arms down, and go to the final track. 2 weeks in a row, we made it to the third track. Yes. Okay, so bend the knees, heel toe the feet in a little so you feel more adaptable, like you're ready for anything. And then open the arms to a W. Shift the weight into the right foot and start to glide the left foot behind you. Bend the right knee a little bit more so you're in a cute little curtsy, and then push into the right foot, kick the left foot out to the side. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So bend the left knee, shift the weight into the left foot, glide the right foot back. And then we'll sync this with the breath. The inhale takes you to center, the exhale bends the knees and shifts you to the other side. Start to move at your own pace, as long as your pace is slow and smooth. And then as your body plays with this, oh, you guys look so awesome here. You can start to twist a little more to the front leg if that feels good. Gonna be ready to go bowling after this. Start to feel how the deep front line can support you here and help you go deeper without any strain, any tension. The magic of the deep front line is when it's supporting us, we really don't have to use our superficial muscles as much as we're used to. Remember that feeling of the raft, everything filling and expanding evenly so there's no tension anywhere in the body. Just one more to each side. And then make your way back to that first side where the right leg's in front. Pause there for one moment. And then push into the right foot. Slowly float the left knee up and cross it over the right leg. Start to twist slightly to the left. And as you do that, deflate your raft. Let everything get a little smaller. Ah, beautiful, Anju. And then inhale. Squeeze the inner thighs together and float weightlessly up. If you need to take a break, you can put the left foot down. Otherwise, take a couple of those pulses, deflating and inflating. And use this as an exploration of the deep core. The movement alone isn't enough. Try to feel those connections up from the sole of the foot. Nice catch, Mel. All the way up the inner thighs and see if you can get lighter through the spine. Start to play with floating the top leg as you come up and then bringing it back down. I know that right leg is feeling it. Try to dial it back a little so you don't have tension as you explore, but also strengthen the muscles of endurance. One more. The next time the leg crosses, option to tuck the toes behind the calf, but that is not for everyone. If you're trying that, point the knees forward. Just give yourself a big hug. Breathe into the back body. And then slowly push into the right foot, float the left knee. Step it out to the side, and then bend the left knee, letting the right side of the body melt. Turn towards the left just a little bit. If it feels good, you can place the hands on the thigh or even down on the floor as long as there's no strain. And then just gently rock forward and back so you're massaging the adductors of the right leg. So you rock forward, you might feel the muscles towards the quads a little bit more. As you rock back, you might feel it towards the hamstrings. And then push into the left foot, coming up to star pose. Notice any asymmetry in the body because we did a lot on that right side. Heel toe the feet in under the body. And we'll prepare for the second side. If the body's craving it, you can shake it out a little bit. And actually, the more relaxed the superficial muscles are, the better you are at shaking. Okay, let's start with some of those curtsies because I love them. So step the feet wide. Shift the weight. Let's start going to the left side. Drag the right leg behind you. Spiral to the left. And then open to your star and go the other way. And remember, this is an exploration of how the deep front line can support you. It's not about stretching. It's not about a deep squat. It's really about exploring a sense of support. But the magic is when you feel supported, beautiful Nanda Devi, you can do a lot. That was great, Mandy. Yes, you look like Rodin's thinker. And the next time you're over to the left, pause there. Take a breath, find a drishti, shift the weight into the left foot, power into the left foot, floating the right, arms can tee for balance. And then cross the right leg over. Pause for a moment and twist gently to the right. And then push down, floating out of it. Exhale deflates you to the right. Inhale floats you to center. And remember, we're trying to explore evenness, right? So if you feel like, whoa, one muscle is doing a lot of work, see if you can relax a little. Move a little bit less, smaller pulses. Imagine that whole left leg is the raft, filling and releasing. So it's not just the hamstrings, it's not just the quads, it's every muscle in your leg and both deep front lines, right and left sides. The next time you float up, option to float the right leg up and then come back down into the twist. And almost all of you are yoga teachers, so if you're feeling creative, you can always add, subtract, change, explore, or stay right with me. One more and keep the leg crossed. If you're feeling a lot in the left leg, see if you can relax. Trust your body. Option to tuck right toes under, but then, you have to point the knees forward. So if the right knee points to the left really far, untuck the toes and keep it more centered. Give yourself a hug. If you can remember, whatever arm you just hugged yourself with, naturally, without thinking, switch arms, because you probably just did the second side again. And then push into the left foot to slowly rise up. Step the right foot over to the side. Bend the right knee and gently spiral to the right. Take a couple of breaths. Feel your heartbeat, and then imagine your whole body like a beating heart as it gently floats in and out, just 1 millimeter. Release hands to thigh. Option to melt forward and let the hands slide down any amount that feels comfortable, or keep the hands interlaced on the thigh, and then rock the weight forward into the balls of the feet and then back into the heels. And use this as an exploration of the deep front line is really lengthened on the left side. You can even spiral the upper body towards the right a little bit more, and you might feel the left adductors lengthen. We're not reaching for a stretch sensation, but it is okay to explore a sense of even space through the whole deep front line. You can even glance at the arch of the left foot and just notice if there's a sense of lift, even in this compromised position where that arch really wants to drop. And then push into the right foot, slowly inflating the body into a big, spacious, weightless star. And imagine I was to, like Karate Kid style, be like, stay here all night. And you could be so relaxed that you could sustain this without any tension. Yeah, dial it back a little if you need to. Connect with the breath, close the mouth. Notice any sense of lightness in the arches of the feet, lightness in the pelvis, lightness in the rib cage. Heel toe the feet in just a little bit. Soften all the limbs. Last weird thing maybe that I'm going to make you do. And just imagine you're a sea turtle. You're just gently flowing with the current of the ocean. You're not thinking about where you want to go. You're just allowing the movement to occur without fighting it. And then slowly make your way to center. Bring your hands to your thighs and deflate your raft, bending the knees, melting forward. Hands can stay on the legs. If it's comfortable, hands can come to the floor. And let the whole raft deflate so much that you can lower one knee at a time. Can lower the hips to the heels, and you can land back at that kneeling position with the hips down and just pausing. Take a couple breaths and have your awareness at the center of the body. Notice any sense of connection, any sense of lightness. And if you're following along with the playlist, you can very slowly hit the minus sign letting it fade out really skillfully. I'm going to do it too. And if you've got some blankets handy, I recommend grabbing them. Ideally, 2 would be awesome, but we can work with whatever you've got. We'll fold the blankets and stack them. So you've got a makeshift bolster, but I actually like this better than a bolster because it's flat. Probably about 3 or 4 inches high. And then you can place it behind you and sit in front of it and extend the legs in front of you and just glide the hands up and down the legs a couple of times. Imagine sweeping off any tension. And notice if you just have more awareness of the inner workings of the legs after paying so much attention to the deep front line. It's like you're looking at it from the outside right now, but you spent the last hour feeling it and exploring it from the inside. And bend the knees, push the heels down, and notice any sense of lightness that you can find through the spine as you do that. Reach the arms to T, and we'll explore our octopus movement here. So melt the body forward, reach the arms forward, and then like an octopus propelling itself through the water, squeeze the arms together, hollow out the belly, and feel the belly pressing towards the back of the body. And then kick into the heels to slowly roll up. And do this a couple of times with a lot less effort each time you do it. So maybe you go into it less. And it's kind of the same energy as our sea turtle floating action. And see how fluidly you can move here, softening through the muscles in the back. If it feels good, you can allow the hands to drag up the legs as you roll up. And then the next time you roll up, place the hands to either side of the bolster and gently start to melt your way onto the support system. And we're going to have to make some adjustments, so don't get too comfortable yet. First, check in with the low back. You do not want a huge arch here, so you can slide the hips forward away from the props so that it's a less dramatic curve. You can also stagger the blankets like stair steps, so that also makes it a less dramatic curve. So play with that. And the other thing you'll play with is just folding the top blanket under or over to support the base of the skull. When we relax here, sorry, my mic flew away. We want the forehead slightly elevated above the chin. So feel a lengthening in the back of the neck. And then for me, the most comfortable leg position is soles of feet wide and knees knocked in. You're welcome to do anything that feels comfortable for you. And then let the arms be soft with a nice bend so the forearms are fully supported and the elbows are close enough to you that doesn't feel like the upper arms have to do any work. And you can play with bringing the elbows a little wider so that the chest feels spacious, or more tucked in so that you feel extra supported. Wiggle the scapula around on the back body, just so that you have awareness of where they end up, and you can relax there. And then when you finally find a place that feels really supportive, you can pause and bring full awareness to the breath, knowing that the body is taken care of and you don't have to focus any energy there anymore. And notice that effortless sense of expansion and softening that happens with each complete breath cycle. And see if tuning into the breath can help you with that same feeling of wholeness that we explored physically with that raft inflating and deflating. As you inhale, you can imagine every cell in the body being receptive. As you exhale, imagine every cell releasing. Keep the mouth closed. Experiment with the tongue on the roof of the mouth. Sometimes that feels even more effortless after paying extra attention. And we have 10 more minutes for Shavasana. You're welcome to stay here as long as you'd like. When it feels right for you, you can transition by rolling off to the side of your prop and landing on one side. And can pause there for a moment in that gentle fetal position, resetting the spine, and eventually move the props and come onto the back. It's nice to place the props underneath the knees. And take your time and enjoy wherever you're choosing to be. And see if you can keep your awareness on the breath as effortlessly as possible. So you're deeply relaxed, yet you have a focal point, a very nourishing anchor to help you stay conscious. Imagine that for the next 10 minutes, all your cells are getting a reset, an opportunity to function optimally, releasing any triggers through the day, anything that's weighing on you. And giving yourself this opportunity to be completely free. Nothing outside of your body exists right now. And you can pretend or feel or believe that this is an opportunity to come back completely to yourself. And all you have to do is relax and watch the breath. Mm. Notice your state of being. And feel what has risen to the surface after releasing the physical body and the mind. In the yogic tradition, this is your inner self. And see if you can stay in this space of harmony with this deeper layer of your being. Make any gentle movements, any little stretches. And then eventually, to roll to one side, imagine that deflating feeling of the raft, to let that sink you towards the earth so you can effortlessly transition into the fetal position and feel that quality of releasing. And when it feels right for you, connect to that inflating and filling and expanding quality, and see how effortlessly, how lightly you can float up to your meditation seat. Take your time, enjoy the pathway. And grab any props you would like to have to sit comfortably. And when you've found your seat, notice any sense of lightness or ease that's available to you from working so intimately with your deep core, ever so gently, like 1% of your energy, so almost just like an idea more than an action. Let the legs hug into the body, subtly activating this line, and notice if it allows you to float through the spine and through the crown of the head. You can even wiggle a little bit from side to side, just making sure you feel light and fluid. And then let the movement get smaller and smaller until it's invisible. But you can feel almost that energetic vibration radiating up the spine. And imagine yourself like a suction cup. The outer edges are anchoring, pulling down, and the inner space is so light it can float. And you can close the eyes or find a single gaze point. Observe the breath. And notice any freedom or spaciousness that's available in your breath. And bring extra attention to the exhale. Let it be slow and steady and complete. Let the inhale be natural, but keep your focal point as the exhale. As you exhale, physically, there's a gentle lift in the deep front line. And so notice if you feel that sense of deep support, any sense of safety within your own body and in your own consciousness. And as you continue to breathe and continue to focus on this focal point of the exhale, attach the mantra Om Namah Shivaya, because this is the mantra that will help you truly experience infinite inner support. We can play with it on a physical level, but the true practice is far beyond that. And so for these last few minutes, use the physical support you've created as a springboard. And let the mantra take you to a deeper and deeper experience of that inner support, inner lightness. Most people benefit tremendously from the focus on the exhale, but if you have tendencies towards depression or lethargy, you may benefit from bringing a little extra awareness to the inhale for the last couple of minutes. Again, most people need more exhale, but feel free to bring in more awareness to your inhale if you feel like that would be more balancing for you. Hmm. Thank you so much for practicing. Namaste. So great to see you. Andy, you made it out of Shavasana today. Way to go. Um, Pay extra attention after this class. I know it's subtle work and it's not necessarily like challenging. You feel it in how your body responds, you know. So if it's late, maybe you'll notice it tomorrow morning, but if it's early where you are and you're doing anything physical, just notice if you feel a little lighter or more supported. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. See you soon. Aloha. Sure, let me just pause the recording. Or I'm going to hit end and it's going to go black for 1 second, but I'm